So the new iPad mini just got released finally after all of these years, and in this video I'll be telling you guys why I think that the new iPad is hands down the best iPad out there for any student to use. What is going on, guys? My name is Kenji, welcome back to my channel. Hope it's not the first time you're watching one of my videos, but just in case it is, I'm a part-time doctor and entrepreneur working in London. And in case you guys didn't know, in a previous life of mine, I was actually a biomedical science student for 3 years, as well as a medical student afterwards for 5 years. And even till this day, I find myself studying all of the time for my specialty exams as a doctor. So I hope that after spending all of these years studying, I'll be able to give you guys a bit of an idea about how I used my iPad mini day to day as a doctor and someone who is still studying today. Now let's go ahead and just jump straight into a summary. I'm sure some of you guys will not want to listen to the whole entire video, so I'm going to quickly summarize who I think this iPad mini is for. So if you're a student who is always on the go, for example, maybe you take 45 minutes in the morning to get to university, another 45 minutes to come back home, maybe you're constantly jumping from lecture theatre to lecture theatre, or maybe like me, you're a medical student and therefore have to go to different hospital placements all across the country, and you're always on a hospital ward round and you really need to take notes very quickly and in a very portable format. If you're someone who values something and needs something that is lightweight and portable, and you just want something to get the job done in those situations, but you also want something that can replace a Amazon Kindle, for example, or if you also want something that can serve a few purposes, for example, being a glorified Amazon Kindle, and you want something that's great to use in terms of content consumption, like watching Netflix while you're on trains and stuff like that, then I honestly think this is definitely the iPad for you. However, maybe you're in a different circumstance and you actually don't commute, so maybe you work from home or you study from home, or you live very close to your university or school and therefore don't spend much time on public transport, or if you spend the majority of your time sat at a desk, for example at a library, and therefore you don't necessarily need or value portability and having something in such a small factor, and very importantly, you're the sort of person that really likes to write notes with the Apple Pencil, like that is your main method of studying, then I probably would shy away from something like the iPad mini and go for something else like the iPad Air or the standard iPad that Apple produce. And finally, pretty much no one needs an iPad Pro. Even me as a content creator and someone who has a business that works online, I honestly can get the same job done on an iPad Air or a standard iPad. iPad Pro really is for people who create music or do lots of editing or photo editing on their iPad, so 99% people do not need the iPad Pro. But with the summary out of the way, let's go ahead and actually talk about all of the main reasons as to why I think this iPad mini is absolutely fantastic. So the first and very key reason really is the portability that makes this device so fantastic. It doesn't have a very big screen, as you can see. It has a very small battery. The screen is 60 hertz per second, I believe, so not the best screen or brightest screen on the market. And on paper, if we honestly just looking at the statistics, the iPad mini is not doing too well for itself. But in my opinion, the one thing that really sells this iPad is its portability. Like, look how small this device is. Literally in the palm of one hand, I can hold it and I can have my hand in the other hand, which is Apple Pencil, and take notes. It is tiny. Like, I honestly think my hand is probably the same size as this iPad, which makes it absolutely fantastic for people who value portability. So in my opinion, that is the main selling point that sets this apart from all the other iPads. The fact that it's so portable, and the reason why this is so useful for me as a student, and particularly a medical student, is like I said, I was always on the go. When I was studying medicine, we were moving from lecture hall to lecture hall. We had like 8 lectures a day, and some of the lectures would be completely on the other side of campus, which is really annoying. And I'm sure you've been in a situation where you show up to lecture hall and there's literally like a tiny swivel table that you have to use in order to actually, use your laptop or your iPad or whatever, and that can be really cramped. And during my clinical years, I would spend so much time either in a GP surgery or in a hospital, and there was so many notes that I just had to take, and being able to use an iPad mini and taking notes with me on the go, whether I might be on a ward round or maybe just shadowing a doctor and taking notes in terms of what he's saying, having this set up and being able to hold it in one hand and write in the other and literally slide it in my pocket in my my trousers as soon as I'm done was something that was super useful to me. But as I said, this is not necessarily the case with all students. Some people don't necessarily have to move around a lot. You might be someone who primarily studies online, or maybe you just go to and from your house and the library, which is not a long commute, then it may not necessarily work for you. But if you find yourself in a similar boat to me and having an iPad mini that you can literally have in your pocket and pull out at any second, whether you're in a hospital or if you're on a train commuting and you just want to watch some Netflix or just use that time to be more productive, then this is the iPad for you. And it's down to its small form factor that actually meant that I tend to use it a lot more. So to give you guys an example, when I was using my 12.9-inch iPad Pro, or even my smaller iPads that I had previously, even when I found myself stationary, so let's say I was just working in a library or in a coffee shop, there was never a particular point in time where I would rather bring out my iPad compared to my laptop. And the reason being is that they're pretty much the exact same size, and the iPad actually isn't that much portable than my 13-inch MacBook Pro that I have with me. And it's the M1 Pro that I use day to day, and I'm pretty sure that it actually weighs the exact same as my iPad Pro with the Magic Keyboard on. So having the iPad doesn't necessarily give me a new sort of use. So it ended up making my iPad Pro quite redundant because there was no sort of middle ground in terms of getting things done. When I was sat down and in a stagnant position, there was never a point where I would rather pull out my iPad than bring out my MacBook Pro. But now, thanks to the iPad mini, there is this sort of new middle ground between my iPhone and my laptop that allows me to have this new functionality where I can get more stuff done on the go. Especially in the case that I bought this sort of Logitech keyboard. I've had this for a number of years now and it is super handy. Very small as well. You can also buy these keyboards that actually fold in half and can literally fit in your pocket, which is fantastic. So having this keyboard as well as this sort of portfolio case or folio case that I have that allows me to stand my iPad up has meant that when I'm in those weird circumstances, for example, maybe I'm in an Uber or I'm on the train commuting, there is now a middle ground where I would rather take my iPad out to get stuff done, whether that might be to watch Netflix or be more productive and get more of my work done. Now, the second reason why I think having an iPad mini is fantastic is because of its multifunctionality. Now, this point might not necessarily matter to you if you're a bit of a baller, but if you're in university and you're struggling like me, I'm sure you know what I mean, where you had that one plate that you would use for absolutely everything. You'd use that one plate for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and even to drink soup out of it. The iPad mini is sort of like that. It's a bit like a spork, you know, a spoon and a fork together, that kind of serves more than one purpose, all in one iPad. Because if you really want to, you can actually use this iPad for so many reasons. The first being sort of a computer replacement. Like I said, if you have a Bluetooth keyboard and you also have a Bluetooth mouse and a stand that comes with the folio case, then you can actually use this to do a lot of your homework, take notes, write essays, and all those sort of things. Of course, like every other iPad as well, you can also use it to just take notes using the Apple Pencil. However, really annoyingly, the new iPad mini is not compatible with the older models. So I believe the iPad mini is only compatible with the USB-C Apple Pencil and also the newer Apple Pencil Pro. So really annoyingly, my second generation Apple Pencil is no longer compatible, so I had to buy a completely new one. But as well as that, and one of the other reasons that I always use this iPad mini is because you can actually use it as a glorified Kindle. So I do have an Amazon Kindle myself, but if I was back in university and I wanted to save some money and I just wanted something that I could use to read books on the go, for example, you might also want to download your textbooks in university completely legally, wink wink, then being able to read books on the go is super useful. But what I also like about this, and you can't really do this as well on the Kindle, is being able to download loads of articles onto your iPad mini and read on the go. So that might be your university articles, or in my case, it might also be just newsletters that I enjoy and like to subscribe to. And this iPad is now also my main sort of consumption device. Because of how small it is and how cutesy it is, I'm actually able to watch content, so like Netflix, YouTube, on the train on the way home from work, or just in my house, because, you know, having an iPad Pro and like lying on the side of your bed with a 13-inch iPad Pro is very awkward. So being able to carry this around the house with me while I'm washing the dishes and just doing general stuff is really useful as well. So this definitely is going to be my new content consumption device. And finally as well, if you don't have a PlayStation or an Xbox, because of the new A17 Pro chip, you're actually able to game really well on this new iPad. Now, for the final part of the video, I want to briefly talk about the downsides that I've experienced so far while using the iPad mini. I'm not going to be talking about all of the different technical specifications like the refresh rate of the screen. I'll be purely talking about my experience so far using it with studying. And the first one, ironically, being the fact that it's so small. Like, of course, having a small device gives you loads of pros. For example, the portability and being able to use it in different locations. The fact that it's small, if you want to use this primarily to take notes and you're a really big note taker, then I probably wouldn't recommend this as your main note-taking device. The reason being is if you're writing, because it's so small, you're going to have to keep moving the screen up and down, left to right, which is really annoying. So there are some downsides about the fact that it's so small. And the second one being the productivity limitations. You're not going to be able to have like multiple tabs open, multiple screens open like you can on a bigger iPad. You can have the overlays of different apps and stuff like that on a different iPad, particularly with my iPad Pro. I do that quite often. This is going to be limiting you pretty much to doing one thing at a time, whether that's writing emails or writing notes. It's not going to be massive in terms of productivity. But again, if you're on a cramped train and you're trying to get to work and you just want to get a few things done, read your emails, read your articles, then you may not necessarily be actually bothered about that. And I certainly am not. And finally, because this device is so small, the battery life as well is also unfortunately not the greatest. In my testing so far, I've only been able to get maybe 1 day of heavy use on an 8-hour day, which is not that much. Compared to my iPad Pro 12.9 inch, when I was using that, I would often get 2, sometimes 3 days using it for content creation, consumption, as well as just my general day studying as well. And that is really it. I was honestly scraping the bottom of the bucket there when I was looking for disadvantages when having the iPad mini. And again, it's really down to you and how you think you're going to be using your iPad. And I encourage you, before you go out to Apple and buy one of these things, I definitely would say to think about where are you mostly going to use this iPad and what do you mostly value? Do you value portability? Do you value being able to do stuff on the move, on the go, because you travel quite a lot? Or do you value maybe having a larger screen real estate and being able to use the larger screen to do more productive things? Maybe you don't necessarily have a big laptop or a MacBook Pro that you can use. Additionally, if this is going to be your main consumption device and work device, you may not necessarily like the iPad mini. But like I said, in my situation, even right now as a doctor, I'm constantly on the go. And if I'm actually going to sit down and do some proper heavy work, for me, it's honestly not a problem. I'll just bring out my laptop because it's already so light and so small already. But if I'm in those weird situations where I can't really bring out a laptop and I want to get some stuff done still, then that's why I absolutely love the iPad mini and will recommend it to any of you guys. If you guys have any questions about the iPad mini, or if you have any thoughts that you want to share regarding the new iPad, please leave a comment down below. If you've enjoyed it, please like the video, make sure to subscribe, notifications on to never miss another upload. And before you go away, I'll leave a video here about all of the apps that I have on my iPad that allows me to be productive. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.